Hi everyone, welcome back to our NeetBioPrep channel. Let's continue the Cell the Unit of Life chapter. Today we are going to learn eukaryotic cells. The eukaryotic includes all protista, plants, animals and fungi. In eukaryotic cell there is an extensive compartmentalization of the cytoplasm through the presence of the membrane bounded organelles. Eukaryotic cells possess an organized nucleus with nuclear envelope. In addition, eukaryotic cells have a variety of complex locomotory and cytoskeleton structure. The genetic material is organized into the chromosomes. All eukaryotic cells are not identical. Plant and animal cells are different, as the former possess cell walls, placid and large central vacuole, which are absent in animal cells. On the other hand, animal cells have the centrioles, which are absent in almost all plant cells. Cell membrane. Cell membrane is mainly composed of lipids and proteins. The major lipids are phospholipids that are arranged in bilayer. Also, the lipids are arranged within the membrane with the polar head towards the outer sides and hydrophobic tail towards the inner part. These ensures that non-polar tail of saturated hydrocarbon is protected from the aqueous environment. In addition to the phospholipids, membrane also contain the cholesterol. Later, biochemical investigation clearly revealed that cell membrane also possesses proteins and carbohydrates. The ratio of proteins and lipids varies considerably in different cell types. In human beings, the membrane of the erythrocyte has approximately 52% protein and 40% lipids. Depending on the ease of extraction, membrane proteins can be classified as integral and peripheral. Peripheral protein lies on the surface of the membrane, while the integral proteins are partially or totally burned in the membrane. An improved model of the structure of the cell membrane was proposed by Singer and Nicholson in 1972, widely accepted as fluid mosaic model. According to this, the quasi-fluid nature of the lipids enables the lateral movement of protein within the overall bilayer. This ability to move within the membrane is measured as its fluidity. The fluid nature of the membrane is also important from the point of view of functions like cell growth, formation of intercellular junctions, secretion, endocytosis, cell division, etc. One of the most important functions of the plasma membrane is the transport of molecule across it. The membrane is selectively permeable to some molecule present on either side of it. Many molecules can move briefly across the membrane without any requirement of energy, and this is called passive transport. Neutral solutes may move across the membrane by the process of simple diffusion along the concentration gradient, therefore from high concentration to lower. Water may also move across this membrane from the higher to lower concentration. Movement of water by the diffusion is called osmosis. As the polar molecules cannot pass through the non-polar lipid bilayer, they require a carrier protein of the membrane to facilitate their transport across the membrane. A few ions or molecules are transported across the membrane against their concentration gradient, therefore from low concentration to high concentration. Such a transport is an energy dependent process in which ATP is utilized and is called active transport, example Na plus or K plus pump. Cell membrane is also nothing but the plasma membrane. Cell membrane is thin, flexible and protective layer that surrounding the every cell. It separates the internal content of the cell from the outside environment. It is present in both plants and animal cell. Cell membrane is mainly made up of the lipids and proteins. It is often described as a fluid mosaic model, which means membrane is like fluid or flexible layer. Lipids are in the bilayer with the polar head towards the outer end and hydrophobic tail towards the inner side. Proteins are embedded with this lipid bilayer and can move around like tails in the mosaic. In the cell membrane, carbohydrates are also present attached to proteins or lipids on the outer surface. Cell membrane is selectively permeable because it controls the entry and leave the cells. Only certain substance can pass through it. It acts as a barrier protecting the cell from the harmful substance. In the membrane, protein helps the cell communicate with its surrounding and other cell. Cell membrane helps and support in the cell and especially in the animal cell. There are two types of the membrane protein which are known as the integral protein and peripheral protein. Integral proteins are embedded in the membrane and help in the transporting the substance. In the peripheral protein, it is attached to the surface and helps in the structural support. Transport across the cell membrane, it is of two types: passive transport and active transport. Passive transport, movement of substance without energy, example diffusion and osmosis. And active transport, movement of the substance using the energy, example pumping ions against the concentration gradient. In the passive transport, along the concentration gradient from the low concentration to high concentration. In the active transport, against the concentration gradient from the high concentration to low concentration. Cell membrane helps in the nutrient uptake, waste removal, maintaining homeostasis. It is essential for the cell survival and its function. Cell wall. A non-living rigidity structure called the cell wall forms an outer covering for the plasma membrane of fungi and plants. Cell wall not only gives a shape to the cell and protects cell from the mechanical damage and infection. It also helps in the cell-to-cell interactions and provide the barrier to the undesirable macromolecules. Algae have cell wall made up of the cellulose, galactans, mannose, and minerals like the calcium carbonate, while in other plants it consists of the cellulose, hemicellulose, pectins, and proteins. The cell wall of the young plant cell, the primary wall is capable of the growth, which gradually diminishes as the cell matures. The secondary wall is formed on the inner, towards the membrane side of the cell. The middle lamella is a layer mainly of the calcium pentate which hold or glues the different neighboring cells together. The cell wall and middle lamella may be transversed by the plasmodesmata which connect the cytoplasm of the neighboring cells. Cell wall is a rigidity and protective outer surface found outside the cell membrane in the plant cell, fungi, bacteria, and some protista. It is absent in the animal cell. Cell wall gives the shape and structural support to the cell, protect the cells from the mechanical injuries and pathogens, prevent excessive water uptake by the cell, thus avoiding bursting. It is known as osmotic protection. Helps maintaining turgidity of the plant cell which support the plant. In plant, the cell wall is mainly made up of the cellulose, a complex carbohydrates like polysaccharides. In fungi, it is mainly made up of the chitin. In bacteria, the cell wall is made up of the substance called the peptidoglycan. Some algae have the cell wall made up of the cellulose and other polysaccharides. Plant cell is made up of the three layers: middle lamella, primary cell wall, and secondary cell wall. Middle lamella is the outermost layer rich in the pectin, helps in the adhesion between the adjacent cells. Primary cell wall is thin, flexible layer formed during the cell growth. Secondary wall is thicker and rigidity layer deposits inside the primary wall after cell growth is complete. Contains more cellulose and sometimes lignin for the extra strength. Cell wall is permeable, meaning substance like water, gases, nutrients can pass through it. It does not control the movement of substance in and out of the cell like the cell membrane. It is absent in the animal cell with instead on the extracellular matrix for the support. Cell wall is present in the plant cell but absent in the animal cell. In plants, cell wall is mainly composed of the cellulose. Cell wall function is protection, shape, mechanical support, and prevention of the excess water uptake. There are three types of the layers: middle lamella, primary wall, and secondary wall. Please like, share, and subscribe.